Good evening, everybody. It's Sunday again. I'm going to be reading some more Wizard of Oz. Give me a moment to get the get the desk set up again. There we go. Allow me a moment to prep some shit on my phone. Here we go. Today's opener is The Meaning of His Tears from the indie RPG maker video game Off. It is a lovely game. All three endings are very good. Let me just fucking let's get some proper sleeping music on. Yeah, let's go with the this Nintendo mix right here. It's 12 hours. Should last more than enough. I'm feeling it. Let's get the book open. Last time we went all the way to chapter 15. Oh, what? Hang on, I need to close chat and then open it again because it is misbehaving. All right, let's get Yep, here we go. So let me get right in there. Put that on reader mode. Put that on the main monitor, and then we can get to it, okay? Now, as per usual, we will be reading The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. Control F, XVI. Oh! Oh dear. It seems that, Opera crashed. Will they give me my tabs back, or... Oh, no. Huh. Well, that's troubling, isn't it? How have you all been today? I was busy last night, so I was not able to properly do my business. All right, so... you know, if we're lucky, eventually I'll have enough to get a proper microphone for these kinds of streams. Then I'll be able to do all kinds of nice things that I myself like listening to. Like I'll be able to put the microphone up to my heart. You'll be able to hear my heartbeat, and that's something I really enjoy, and that's something I want my viewers to be able to enjoy as well. We'll get there. History. Put that on reader mode. Now we should be able to just get right back into it. Instead of coffee this evening, I have a big bottle of water. Although I anticipate my work will keep me up late enough to the point where I might need coffee after this. Who knows? Oh, sorry. So Control F, XVI. All right. The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, Chapter 16, The Magic Art of the Great Humbug. Next morning, the Scarecrow said to his friends, "Congratulate me, I'm going to Oz to get my brains at last. When I return, I shall be as other men are." "I've always liked you as you were," said Dorothy simply. "It is kind of you to like a scarecrow," he replied, "but surely you will think more of me when you hear the splendid thoughts my new brain is going to turn out." Then he said goodbye to them in a cheerful voice and went to the throne room, where he rapped upon the door. "Come in," said Oz. The Scarecrow went in and found a little man sitting down by the window, engaged in deep thought. "I've come for my brains," remarked the Scarecrow. "Oh yes, sit in that chair, please," replied Oz. "But you must excuse me for taking your head off. But I shall have to do it in order to put your brains in their proper place." I'm going to drop the voices now if that's all right. "That is all right," said the Scarecrow. "You are quite welcome to take my head off, as long as it will be a better one when you put it on again." So the wizard unfastened his head and emptied out the straw. Then he entered up the back room and took up a measure of bran, which he mixed with a great many pins and needles. Having shaken them together thoroughly, he filled the top of the Scarecrow's head with the mixture and stuffed the rest of the space with straw to hold it in place. When he had fastened the Scarecrow's head on his body again, he said to him, "Hereafter you will be a great man, for I have given you a lot of brand new brains." The Scarecrow was both pleased and proud at the fulfillment of his greatest wish, and having thanked Oz warmly, he went back to his friends. Dorothy looked at him curiously. His head was quite bulged out at the top with brains. "How do you feel?" she asked. "I feel quite wise indeed," he answered earnestly. "When I get used to my brains, I shall know everything." "Why are those needles and pins sticking out of your head?" asked the Tin Man. "That is proof that he is sharp," remarked the Lion. "Oh, well, I must go to Oz and get my heart," said the Woodman. So he walked to the throne room and knocked at the door. "Come in," called Oz, and the Woodman entered and said, "I've come for my heart." "Very well," answered the little man, "but I shall have to cut a hole in your breast so I can put your heart in the right place. I hope it won't hurt you." "Oh, no," answered the Woodman. I shall not feel it at all. So Oz brought a pair of tinsmith's shears and cut a small, square hole in the left side of the woodman's breast. Then, going to a chest of drawers, he took out a pretty heart made entirely of silk and stuffed with sawdust. "Isn't it a beauty?" he asked. "It is indeed," replied the woodman, who was greatly pleased. "But is it a kind heart?" "Oh, very," answered Oz. He put the heart in the woodman's breast and then replaced the square of tin, soldering it neatly together where it had been cut. "There," said he. "Now you have a heart that any man might be proud of. I'm sorry I had to put a patch on your breast, but it really couldn't be helped." "Never mind the patch," exclaimed the happy woodman. "I'm very grateful to you, and shall never forget your kindness." "Don't speak of it," replied Oz. Then the Tin Woodman went back to his friends, who wished him every joy on account of his good fortune. The lion now walked to the throne room and knocked at the door. "Come in," said Oz. "I've come for my courage," announced the lion, entering the room. "Very well," answered the little man. "I will get it for you." He went to a cupboard and, reaching up to a high shelf, took down a square green bottle, the contents of which he poured into a green gold dish. Beautifully carved, placing this before the cowardly lion, who sniffed at it as if he did not like it. The wizard said, "Drink." "What is it?" asked the lion. "Well," answered Oz, "if it were inside you, it would be courage. You know, of course, that courage is always inside one. So that this really cannot be called courage until you have swallowed it. Therefore, I advise you to drink it as soon as possible." The lion hesitated no longer, but drank till the dish was empty. "How do you feel now?" asked Oz. "Full of courage," replied the lion, who went joyfully back to his friends to tell them of his good fortune. Oz, left to himself, smiled to think of his success in giving the Scarecrow and the Tin Woman and the lion exactly what they thought they wanted. "How can I help being a humbug," he said, "when all these people make me do things that everybody knows can't be done?" It was easy to make the Scarecrow and the lion and the woodman happy, because they imagined I could do anything. But it will take more than imagination to carry Dorothy back to Kansas, and I'm sure I don't know how it can be done. Chapter 17. How the balloon was launched. Hang on, let me sip. For 3 days, Dorothy heard nothing from Oz. These were sad days for the little girl, although her friends were all quite happy and contented. The Scarecrow told them there were wonderful thoughts in his head, but he would not say what they were because he knew no one could understand them but himself. Then the Tin Woodman walked about. When the Tin Woodman walked about, he felt his heart rattling around in his breast, and he would tell Dorothy he had discovered it to be a kinder and more tender heart than the one he had owned when he was made of flesh. The lion declared he was afraid of nothing on earth, and would gladly face an army or a dozen of the fierce Kalidas. Thus each of the little party were satisfied except Dorothy, who longed more than ever to get back to Kansas. On the fourth day, to her great joy, Oz sent for her, and when she entered the throne room, he greeted her pleasantly. "Sit down, my dear. I think I've found the way to get you out of this country." "And back to Kansas?" she asked eagerly. "Well, I'm not sure about Kansas," said Oz, "for I haven't the faintest notion of which way it lies. But the first thing to do is to cross the desert, and then it should be easy for you to find your way home." "How can I cross the desert?" she inquired. "Well, I'll tell you what I think," said the little man. "You see, when I came to this country, it was in a balloon. You also came through the air, being carried by a cyclone. So, I believe the best way to cross the desert will be through the air. Now, it is quite beyond my powers to make a cyclone, but I've been thinking the matter over, and I believe I can make a balloon." "How?" asked Dorothy. "A balloon," said Oz, "is made of silk, which is coated in glue to keep the gas in. I have plenty of silk in the palace, so it will be no trouble to make the balloon. But in all this country, there is no gas to fill the balloon with, to make it float." "If it won't float," remarked Dorothy, "it will be of no use to us." "True," answered Oz. "But there's another way to make it float, which is to fill it with hot air. Hot air isn't as good as gas, for if the air should get cold, the balloon would come down in the desert, and we should be lost." "We?" exclaimed the girl. Are you going with me?" "Yes, of course," replied Oz. "I'm tired of being such a humbug. If I should go out of this palace, my people would soon discover I am not a wizard. And then they would be vexed with me for having deceived them. So I have to stay shut up in these rooms all day, and it gets tiresome. I'd rather go back to Kansas with you and be in a circus again." "I shall be glad to have your company," said Dorothy. "Thank you," he answered. "Now, if you will help me sew the silk together, we will begin to work on our balloon." So Dorothy took a needle and a thread, and as fast as Oz could cut the strips of silk into proper shape, the girl sewed them neatly together. First there was the strip of light green silk, and then a strip of dark green, and then emerald green. For Oz had a fancy to make the balloon of different shades of the color about them. It took 3 days to sew all the strips together, and when it was finished, they had a big bag of green silk more than 20 feet long. Then Oz painted it on the inside with a coat of thin glue to make it airtight, after which he announced that the balloon was ready. "But we must have a basket to ride in," he said. So he sent the soldier with the green whiskers for a big clothes basket, which he fastened with many ropes on the bottom of the balloon. And when it was all ready, Oz sent word to his people that he was going to make a visit to a great brother wizard who lived in the clouds. The news spread rapidly throughout the city, and everyone came to see the wonderful sight. Oz ordered the balloon carried out in front of the palace. The people gazed upon it with much curiosity. The Tin Woodman had chopped a big pile of wood, and now he made a fire of it. And Oz held the bottom of the balloon over the fire so that the hot air that arose from it would be caught in the silken bag. Gradually the balloon swelled and rose into the air until finally the basket just touched the ground. Then Oz got into the basket and said to all the people in a loud voice, "I'm now going away to make a visit. While I am gone, the Scarecrow will rule over you. I command you to obey him as you would obey me. The balloon was, by this time, tugging hard at the rope that held it to the ground, for the air within it was hot, and this made it so much lighter in weight than the air without it that it pulled hard to rise into the sky. "Come, Dorothy," cried the wizard. "Hurry up, or the balloon will fly away." "Can't find Toto anywhere," replied Dorothy, who did not wish to leave her little dog behind. Toto had run into the crowd to bark at a kitten. Dorothy at last found him. She picked him up and ran toward the balloon. She was within a few steps of it, and Oz was holding out his hands to help her into the basket. Then crack went the ropes. The balloon rose into the air without her. "Come back," she screamed. "I want to go too." "I can't come back, my dear," called Oz from the basket. "Goodbye." "Goodbye," shouted everyone, and all eyes were turned upward to where the wizard was riding in the basket, rising every moment farther and farther into the sky. That was the last any of them ever saw of Oz, the wonderful wizard. Though he may have reached Omaha safely and be there now, for all we know. But the people remembered him lovingly, and said to one another, "Oz was always our friend. When he was here, he built up for us this wonderful Emerald City. And now he's gone and left us the wise Scarecrow to rule over us." Still, for many days they grieved over the loss of the wonderful wizard and would not be comforted. Chapter 18, the final one for tonight. Away to the south. Dorothy wept bitterly at the passing of her hope to get home to Kansas again. But when she thought it all over, she was glad she had not gone up in the balloon. She felt sorry at losing Oz, and so did her companions. The Tin Woodman came to her and said, "Oh, sorry. Old man hands moment. Oh. Yeah, there we go. Oh. Yeah, there we go. Truly, I should be ungrateful if I failed to mourn for the man who gave me my lovely heart. I should like to cry a little because Oz is gone. If you will kindly wipe away my tears so that I shall not rust." "With pleasure," she said, and brought a towel at once. Then the Tin Woodman wept for several minutes, and she watched the tears carefully and wiped them away with the towel. When he had finished, he thanked her kindly and oiled himself thoroughly with his jeweled oil can to guard against mishap. The Scarecrow was now the ruler of the Emerald City, and although he was not a wizard, the people were proud of him. For, they said, there is not another city in all the world that is ruled by a stuffed man. And so far as they knew, they were quite right. The morning after the balloon had gone up with Oz, the four travelers met in the throne room and talked matters over. The Scarecrow sat in the big throne, and the others stood respectfully before him. "We are not so unlucky," said the new ruler, "for this palace and the Emerald City belong to us, and we can do just as we please. When I remember that a short time ago I was up on a pole in a farmer's cornfield, and that now I am the ruler of this beautiful city. I'm quite satisfied with my lot. I also, said the Tin Woodman, am well pleased with my new heart. And really, that was the only thing I wished for in all the world. For my part, I'm content in knowing I am as brave as any beast that ever lived, if not braver, said the Lion modestly. If Dorothy would only be contented to live in the Emerald City, continued the Scarecrow, we might well be happy together. But I don't want to live here, cried Dorothy. I want to go to Kansas and live with Aunt Em and Uncle Henry. Well then, what can be done? Inquired the Woodman. The Scarecrow decided to think. And he thought so hard that the pins and needles began to stick out his brain. And he said, why not call the Winged Monkeys and ask them to carry you over the desert? I never thought of that, said Dorothy joyfully. It's just the thing. I'll go at once for the golden cap. When she brought it into the throne room, she spoke the magic words, and soon the band of winged monkeys flew in through the open window and stood beside her. This is the second time you have called us, said the Monkey King, bowing before the little girl. What do you wish? I want you to fly with me to Kansas, said Dorothy. But the Monkey King shook his head. That cannot be done, he said. We belong to this country alone and cannot leave it. There has never been a winged monkey in Kansas yet, and I suppose there never will be, for they don't belong there. We shall be glad to serve you in any way in our power, but we cannot cross the desert. Goodbye. And with another bow, the Monkey King spread his wings and flew away through the window, followed by all in his band. Dorothy was ready to cry with disappointment. Must have wasted the charm of the golden cap to no purpose, she said, for the winged monkeys cannot help me. It is certainly too bad, said the tender-hearted Woodman. The Scarecrow was thinking again. His head bulged out so horribly that Dorothy feared it would burst. Let us call in the soldier with the green whiskers, he said, and ask his advice. So the soldier was summoned and entered the throne room timidly. For while Oz was alive, he never was allowed to come farther than the door. This little girl, said the Scarecrow to the soldier, wishes to cross the desert. How can she do so? I cannot tell, answered the soldier, for nobody has ever crossed the desert, unless it is Oz himself. Is there no one who can help me? Asked Dorothy earnestly. Glinda might, he suggested. Who's Glinda? Inquired the Scarecrow. The Witch of the South. She's the most powerful of all the witches and rules over the Quadlings. Besides, her castle stands at the edge of the desert, so she may know a way to cross it. Glinda's a good witch, isn't she? Asked the child. The Quadlings think she is good, said the soldier, and she is kind to everyone. I've heard that Glinda is a beautiful woman who knows how to keep young in spite of the many, many, many years she has lived. How can I get to her castle? Asked Dorothy. The road is straight to the south, he answered. But it is said to be full of dangers to travelers. There are wild beasts in the woods, and a race of strange men who do not like strangers to cross their country. For this reason, none of the Quadlings ever come to the Emerald City. The soldier then left them, and the Scarecrow said, "It seems, in spite of dangers, that the best thing Dorothy can do is to travel to the land of the South and ask Glinda to help her. For, of course, if Dorothy stays here, she will never get back to Kansas." "You must have been thinking again," remarked the Tin Woodman. "I have," said the Scarecrow. "I shall go with Dorothy," declared the Lion, "for I am tired of your city and long for the woods and the country again. I am really a wild beast, you know. Besides, Dorothy will need someone to protect her." "That is true," agreed the Woodman. "My axe may be of service to her, so I will also go with her to the land of the South." "When shall we start?" asked the Scarecrow. "Are you going?" they asked in surprise. "Certainly. If it wasn't for Dorothy, I should never have had brains. She lifted me from the pole in the cornfield and brought me to the Emerald City. So my good luck is all due to her. I shall never leave her until she starts back to Kansas for good and all." "Thank you," said Dorothy gravely. "You are all very kind to me. But I should like to start as soon as possible." "We shall go tomorrow morning," returned the Scarecrow. "So now let us all get ready, for it will be a long journey." And that's the last chapter for tonight. I could keep going, or I could log off and do some other stuff. It's getting a little close to bedtime. Oh, right. Real quick. Let's go over. Let's go over not only the new schedule, but also the full body image of the new model. I sat down all day today. And worked hard on it. I want you all to see. Hang on, it's loading up. Loading it up like that's actually like awful. I'm going to open it up. All right, here we go. Yeah, here we go. Let's get this over on the other monitor and then cut over, all right? So, we're not viewing the file directly. We're actually viewing it in Microsoft Paint. I apologize if you had your brightness up. So yeah, redid this entire fucking thing just to make sure it was closer to the reference sheet. Scrunched up sleeves, you know, nice and fashionable. I even made sure to include the discolored nails. I'm proud of how this turned out, especially since this only took me the afternoon. This is not a multiple day project, baby. This is all today. Additionally, we have a new schedule lined up. Let's get that going. Tomorrow, we will be starting late. I have plans. There's Japanese study followed by Final Fantasy VI. On Tuesday, we have karaoke. Please look forward to that. On Wednesday, I'm taking a break. I will be working on rigging. And then Friday, and then Thursday, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Hopefully, we will be able to get closer and closer to finishing Alucard's adventure. Then we can knock that off. And on Friday, I'm taking another break. I will try to have something to talk about on Saturday next week. And then on Sunday, I think I'm going to do a different book for the thing. I will be wrapping up soon, so I'm going to prep a raid. Let me open up the Twitch dashboard because I accidentally closed it. Like a dummy. Yeah, let's close that. Oh. Sorry for the very short reading streams as of late. My reading speed has been improving, and you can really see it, and you can really feel it in the pace at which I'm able to do these. I will have to start increasing the amount of material I cram into these. It is 9:45. Very bad time for dinner, but if you haven't eaten yet, go do that. Get yourself something to snack on. Get yourself something to drink. Remember to hydrate, especially this late at night. Make sure you get a decent amount of sleep each night, or split up your sleep into 2 decently sized portions. And, yeah. Beat your cock like it owes you $5.6 quintillion. Love yourself. Good night.